I am QO and greet each in love and in light, my friends. We are happy to be with this instrument and this group. You ask this day how it is possible for the seeker of truth to determine the level at which the seeking takes place in your energy centers or chakra systems, as a means by which to modulate and accelerate the inpouring energy of the logos that moves through the south poles of your energy field in a magnetic fashion and seeks to unite with that birthright which each has in the violet ray chakra, the guiding star of the self, shall we say. Each of you, as you move through your daily round of activities, experiences catalysts in a variety of ways. The catalyst is so called because it allows you to glean from these interactions with other selves that which each of you, as you move through your daily round of activities, experience catalysts in a variety of ways. The catalyst is so called because it allows you to glean from these interactions with other selves that which is of value to you in your own journey of seeking. There are many such interactions for each seeker in each day's round of activities. If you wish to analyze these interactions for their ability to assist your journey of seeking, it is well to reserve a portion of each daily period at the end of the day to enter into the meditative state and to examine what has occurred for you in this day, in the way of interactions which have moved you away from the compassion and understanding which is the goal of the seeker of truth. If you have felt yourself moved in one particular way or another, you may look at that movement that has, shall we say, taken you from your center of self and assigned to that movement a certain center of energy, which is, shall we say, the home ground or bastion, the home ground or bastion of that particular kind of energy expenditure. The question of the energy centers is indeed among the most central for those of third density who wish to engage in that kind of spiritual work which can best be done in meditation. The energy centers can be likened to a musical instrument in the sense that the different centers each contribute to the whole by providing a tone, one could say, that when played well provides a harmonic expression of the spiritual being. So while it is true that there is an hierarchical structure to the centers of energy, it is also true that in a well-tuned being, all centers are contributing simultaneously. So we would caution against attempting to occupy in your meditations simply the highest of the energy centers that you feel is accessible to you at the expense of the lower energy centers, which we would stress do still form an important part of your being and indeed the more basic part of your energy system. So, if we may begin by looking at the red ray energy center, as we have called it, which you may find at the base of your spine, This is the center at which energy is first taken up into the more etheric body, and while work of a more individual or particular sort may not be done at the red ray level, it is yet an important consideration to have this energy center open, for it gives the entire system the initial infusion, we correct this instrument, of energy, that comes in from below. The factors that tend to close off the red ray are those of fear, those of excessive anger, those of excessive lust. Such factors as these can be so overwhelm the energy system that no further work may meaningfully be done while they prevail. So, a bright and cheerful attitude towards spiritual work is what we may call the best beginning. Now, with such an attitude in place, one may move up the energy. Now, with such an attitude in place, one may move up the system of energy centers to that ray which we have called orange, and we find there that the attitudes that one has towards other selves, with whom one has a personal relationship, are central to this energy center, and also the sense of self that one entertains for oneself is a factor of importance for dealing with the intake of energy at this level. Blockages may occur at this center when difficulties are discovered, either in the relation of the self to itself, or in the relation of the self to another. If these blockages are in place, it is well not to attempt to go higher, for to do so will mean that one is working with higher energies in a way which is distorted at a level below their proper sphere. And it is not possible to correct these imbalances while in the configuration of the higher energy center. Therefore, while, for example, it may seem highly desirable to the seeker to be doing work in the blue ray or in the indigo ray centers in meditation, this work will not be effective until the clearing of the lower energy centers has been achieved. When one feels joy in relation to others of one's immediate acceptance, when one feels joy in being who one is, one can then make the effort to move higher in the chain of energy centers and undertake work within the yellow ray center of activity. The yellow ray center of activity The yellow ray center of activity is that center in which societal actions can be engaged, and every individual within this circle of seeking has a highly articulated societal self and a highly complex set of societal relations that situate the way the energies are configured for each individually. This can constitute a very involved and complicated system of study. It is not that we would suggest that this system of study has to be exhaustively complicated at every sitting, but one does well to be clear that one is not carrying the effects of lingering discord at the third or yellow ray energy center before attempting to move higher up the scale, so to speak. The principal effort typical of third density meditative work is the opening of the heart chakra, or the green ray energy center. For only When this center is opened, can work in the higher centers be engaged in a way that reflects the polarity we have called service to others. To be sure, there are those within your density that have chosen another polarity, that polarity being what we have called service to self. Those who function in a manner of serving primarily the self are those who disdain the opening of the heart center, finding it to be foolish to dwell there, for it seems to those who have chosen this polarity to be such as to give away the authority or the power of one's being. Now it may seem Now it may so seem to one whose sense of self is such that it creates a kind of rotary pattern that moves from the yellow ray center back down to the orange ray center, back up through the yellow, and so on, and so on, and so on. We pause to call your attention to this configuration not because we feel that any within this circle of seeking are in fact polarizing in the direction of service to self. But we do find that the energy pattern typical of that configuration does, to some extent, persist in many, if not all, who seek within your density, and so on, and so. It is well to be aware of that pattern, and it is well to be aware that that is a pattern through which one penetrates to gain access to the opening of the heart center. With the heart open once With the heart open, one gazes for the first time with new eyes upon the creation, with eyes of innocence and joy. It is with this energy that one may begin to make a springboard attempt into the higher energy centers, the danger of which some have become aware of an attempt to open the higher energy centers without a full investiture of the heart center is that one carries a polarity of a different sort than is the one desired into these centers, and if the polarity chosen is not fully consistent with itself, an imbalance of significant proportions can be the result of an attempt to open the higher energy centers without a full investiture of the heart center is that one carries a polarity of a different sort than is the one desired into these centers, and if the polarity chosen is not fully consistent with itself, an imbalance of significant proportions can be the result. As a consequence of this thought, we would caution that it is always well to work on that work which is given to one to do, and not to judge the meditation as being better or worse based on how high one feels one has reached in the hierarchical arrangements of energies. If one's daily allotment has given to one a disturbance of the orange ray, that is where it is well to focus one's efforts. If the distortion is of the if the disturbance is of the character one can find in complicated social arrangements characteristic of the third ray or yellow ray activity, it is well to focus one's balancing efforts in that ray. By doing so, one does the work of creating the pathway to the open heart. Not every meditation, my friends, will be one of glory, Not every meditation will be one of pure joy, but much of the work that is done in meditation seats the table, so to speak, for the feast to come, and we commend you to the activity of doing the work requisites for the more sanctified work, as we might call it. That begins with the blue ray and moves into the indigo ray when it reaches its fuller height. The indigo ray is that ray of the spiritual seeker which most embodies the highest aspirations to which that seeker is able to reach. The indigo ray is the site of sacred work, which one does by invoking the power and the presence of the Creator, a kind of drawing energy, if we may so call it, that reaches down from above and constitutes an inspiration and an invitation for the upreach of the energies coming from below. In the indigo ray, there is a great feeling of blessings available. One can become quite intoxicated by this feeling of blessing. It is not unknown among your people to have serious spiritual seekers, have experiences in which they break through to the indigo ray and feel themselves to be overwhelmed by the splendor of the energy there to be discovered. On such occasions, you do find those who feel they can now sally forth with the message that they can uniquely bring to a struggling humanity. But we would suggest to you that when this happens, it is often the case that a precipitous conclusion is drawn to the effect that a message of a particular limited kind is the truth to be conveyed. And we would suggest that the limitations of the messenger are often reflections of the particular circumstances of that individual seeker involving work that has been left undone at the lower energy centers. So we would suggest that the question of raising the level of the energy center activation is, for the evolving seeker, not the only question to be addressed, but rather, it is of equal significance and increasing importance to engage in the process of balancing all of the energy centers in relation to one another. This requires continually going back down to the lowest and moving back up to the highest, and going back down and moving back up and going back down, so that one learns to play that tone poem, which is the energy center, which is the energy system, with more and more skill, and more clarity, and more devotion to being the highest and the best among the clearest channel for the energies. It is one's privilege to convey through the various expressions of the self. Again, my friends, you are the arbiter of your own journey as you survey the energy centers affected by your daily round of activities. Look then to those where blockages are found. Attempt to balance each blockage with its opposite, that you may find an evenness of flow where before there was energy that was halted in its movement upwards. And in this fashion, you may determine where your focus of attention needs to be placed. It is the journey of a lifetime to unblock each succeeding center of energy as that the that the white light of the one Creator moves unimpeded through each center of energy and remains white throughout the journey. However, do not feel that you have in any way failed if there is coloration to your light, for this is why you have incarnated. It is necessary to engage in the learning of various lessons in the overall plan of each soul's evolution. The way lessons are learned is to discover where there is a blockage in the overall energy pattern of each individual and program these into the incarnational life stream that attention might be put upon them and energy directed to balance and clear each center. It is the seeker which does the working by utilizing the various qualities of each energy center in order to bring balance to the entire array of energy centers. Thus, the conscious, aware seeker utilizes the ability of each center in the process of balancing so that the activities of the day, which have pointed out to the seeker where work needs to be done, may be then processed through a period and process of balancing in meditation the perceived blockages. Is there a further query, my brother? No, thank you, QO. I am QO, and we thank you, my brother. Is there another query at this time?